Hey guys, it's Virgin Vinyl with you again today. I've been telling you all for quite a while that I'm going to be heading to the United States and that I've got a big stack of records waiting for me. Well, here I am. I'm in Key West, Florida, and I'll make a comment about that in a second. This is my dad's place, and I had a whole bunch of records sent here waiting for me because it's much cheaper to buy records here in this country, and you also have a hell of a lot better range and variety. So, as soon as I booked the tickets for this trip, I stocked up. I was online hunting all sorts of records that I wanted to get my hands on, and here we go. Look at this monster right here. This monster stack. That's bloody heavy. I don't know I'm going to take it in my bag. I'm not going to go through and talk about every record here, but I'll just sort of show you quickly like what I've got here. And then I'll make more videos about the individual stuff. I'll start with this box set right here. So this is the Alan Holdsworth solo album collection here. And it has everything except for Velvet Darkness, but that's okay, I've got that already. So going backwards, we've got Then, the live album, Flat Tire, hang on, let's do it like this. Wait, how can I do this in the best way possible? All right, yeah, like that. So we've got the first album, IOU. We got the mini album, Road Games there, which is a fantastic album, but Alan hates it. Of course he hates it. He hated a lot of his albums. And then we have the excellent Metal Fatigue, incredible stuff. Oh, I'm so happy to have all of this on vinyl. Then we had the birth of the Syntax with how do you say it again? Atavachron. Yeah, Atavachron. It's a thing from the first Star Trek series. As you can see, it's Alan there wearing a red Star Trek uniform, and he's got his Syntax there. Very cool stuff. Then the next album, which was Sand. These all come with download codes that are all slipping out here. That's cool. There's Sand there. Not one of my favorites, but still awesome. Still, everything Alan Holdsworth does is genius. Then we've got the incredible Secrets, which came next. Love this album. Some great players on here, including the one of the greatest drummers of all time, Vinnie Colaiuta, and absolutely incredible stuff. Again, Vinny's on this one. The stalwarts of Alan's music, Chad Wackerman and Gary Husband are here, of course, and Jimmy Johnson on bass. Incredible. All of his bands are always incredible. He always has great musicians. The underrated Hard Hat Area, really cool album from the 90s, I believe. And kind of in a similar vein, I think, to Metal Fatigue, maybe. Sort of like for me, I always think of it somewhere like a cross between Metal Fatigue and Secrets. Then you've got this one, None Too Soon. It's cool to see it on vinyl. I had it on CD years ago, but yeah, that's cool. This is all like standards, Holdsworth doing standards, which is interesting in itself. I'm not that crazy about that album though, to be honest, because it was sort of done more piecemeal, whereas like the older albums were a band in the room playing, and you can really hear it. On this one, it was like the sessions were done separately, so there's not as much interconnectedness. This is the last really great album, I think, of Alan's, and that's the 16 Men of Tain. Fantastic stuff there. Alan is one of the guys. Where is Alan? Can't remember which one is he. Anyway, I'll look at that and figure it out. This one was music for a non-existent movie, Flat Tire. This one also I'm not that crazy about, you know, but it's an interesting artifact. It's the last thing he did before he passed away, and so it's important to have because the reason I bought this set is because I'm a huge fan and I want to have all his stuff. And this is incredible. This live album here, fantastic lineup. You have Steve Hunt on keyboards, Gary Husband on drums, who is one of my all-time favorite drummers. I love Gary's playing. It's so fiery and intense, and you know, he's like one of those fusion drummers who doesn't go down the Fusak, you know, schmaltzy road. You know, he's always attacking, and I love that. It's always brutal with him behind the kit, and so musical as well. Like he just musically a genius. And of course, the great Jimmy Johnson on bass, who is, you know, Alan's longest running bass player, fantastic bass player as well. So that's awesome. So cool to have all of that. So really, really stoked about that. Let me just, hang on, what have I done here? Have I mixed all of that up? Doesn't matter. I can put it in this way. That's all right. That's okay. Get it in there. Come on. I can't get it in. What's going on? All right, you know what? I'll leave that and I'll fix it in a second. All right, so these ones are... I'll just quickly go through all of these. I'm definitely going to talk about this in a separate video. My all-time favorite album, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Visions of the Emerald Beyond. Absolutely incredible. I'll open it up on that video. It is a gatefold, full, awesome, incredible stuff. This is a new copy, so super happy to get that. Time Ghoul, death metal, underground, awesomeness, kind of progressive death metal, really kind of out there, sort of fits in with bands like Demolik and stuff like that, or like Kythia Flame. Really sort of pushing the boundaries of death metal, and I absolutely love it. This is the 2 demos that they did. They only ever did 2. Well, they might have done... They're 2 famous demos anyway, and they compiled them onto this and sort of released it as kind of an album of those 2 demos. So that's what this is here, and really happy to have that, thanks to Hell's Headbangers. One of the great unsung jazz rock fusion albums of all time. Everybody talks about Spectrum. Spectrum's a great album. I prefer Crosswinds. I prefer a couple of his albums actually before that one. Then we've got the master himself, Mr. Chick Corea, Mad Hatter, incredible stuff. Beautiful album. Really it's more like a prog rock album in a way. There are some, you know, smoking jazz sections in here. And when it does do that, it's very reminiscent of 3 Quartets. You know, that's what it kind of reminds me of. It's a similar band, I think. Yeah, it's the same band. You've got Eddie Gomez on bass and Steve Gadd on drums. And there's a whole bunch of other guys, of course, as well. But when you have that sort of cooking, those 3 guys, Chick, Eddie, and Steve, you know, it's just that cooking, absolutely killer jazz. But with Chick's flair for progressive rock as well thrown in. A live mother for you. Billy Cobham, again, absolutely ripping it up here. Guys like Steve Kahn, Alfonso Johnson on the bass, Tom Scott. Fantastic album, absolutely killer live album. There's a few Billy Cobham albums, live albums from that time that I really love. It's hard to differentiate between them. I do really love the one with George Duke. I love the crazy album cover of that too. It's so weird with the hands, you know, the heads on the hands. But Shabazz is really good as well. But this is fantastic too. Great stuff. Here we go. The beginning of Herbie Hancock really stretching out here on Mawandisi. And this was the first album of that Mawandisi band that would do Crossings and Sextant. Both also incredible albums. I don't know, maybe Sextant is probably the best of them, but I also love this one. And so I was really happy to pick it up. Can't wait to give these a spin. Another fantastic Chick Corea album with, of course, Steve Gadd on drums again. Fantastic stuff, awesome songs. Like Night Sprite and Lenore, Reverie. I mean, this whole thing is awesome. Absolutely killer. Again, Chick really was sort of incorporating the progressiveness into his music. And so was this guy, Herman Zobel. Like anybody who knows Andy Edwards' channel knows all about this. And thanks to Andy, I discovered this, and I got really lucky and found a copy on eBay. And of course, there was a little bit of a bidding war, and luckily I won the bidding at the last second. So I'm very stoked to have this, because this album, even though I'm relatively new to it, only discovering it in the last year or so, it's quickly raced up to be one of my favorite albums of all time, I think. I mean, of course, we'll have to see over the years if it remains there, but I can't see how it wouldn't, because it's just fiery jazz rock fusion at its absolute best. Killer band, killer arrangements, amazing playing, amazing piano playing, genius composition from this young fella. It's the only album he ever made, and it's fantastic. If you love your jazz rock fusion and you like it fiery and progressive, if you're more into prog than into jazz rock, you might still be able to enjoy this, because it's very proggy, and it's very composed, you know. So it's maybe not quite as many, like I think some people don't enjoy long solos and stuff like that. Well, I do like that stuff when a band is cooking, you know, but a lot of people don't. And I think this has the perfect balance. So definitely check it out if you get a chance to. Uriah Heep, The Magician's Birthday. I love this album. It's one of my favorite Uriah Heep albums. Really happy to get it on vinyl. It's a gatefold there. Really cool. Pictures of the guys. Beautiful artwork there from Roger Dean. I love this thing. Released on Bronze Records. Fantastic stuff. Can't wait to give it a spin when I get home. I shouldn't have taken it out. This is what always happens. I take stuff out and then I'm a retard putting it back in. Okay. Got it in. Apocalypse, Mahavishnu Orchestra. So I only need to get Inner Worlds now, and I've got all the 70s Mahavishnu stuff. There's, you know, of course, not all the. I really want to get my hands on the live albums that have just been released recently on vinyl as well. The one from Berkeley and the one from Cambridge. I would love to get them both. I'll see how I can go for money and everything like that while I'm here. And but you know, the albums. This is a masterpiece album, and you know, if the band hadn't had so many other incredible masterpieces, you know, I think this album would get spoken about more. But it's sort of, even though it is a masterpiece, it's an incredible piece of music. This thing, absolutely incredible achievement. George Martin produced this album, and he said that it's one of the things he's most proud of. So think about that. This is the guy who brought the Beatles to the world, the great and mighty Beatles. And this is one of the things he's most proud of. So that says a lot in my opinion anyway. So fantastic stuff. It's a little bit overshadowed, of course, by the album that comes after it. My favorite album of all time, Visions. And of course, the first generation of the band, which was, you know, absolutely legendary. And, you know, In a Mounting Flame is maybe my second favorite album of all time. It's right there with, it's hard for me to differentiate them, to be honest. You know, when I say favorite album of all time, I don't really mean that. I don't really have a favorite of all time. But if it's more like if I could only take one album with me, you know, for the rest of my life, I think I would take Visions of the Emerald Beyond, because it sort of has everything. Anyway, great album there. This one I picked up because it was like being sold by the same guy as Mahavishnu Orchestra. And I always like to get more than one record, because it seems like better value for money with the shipping, you know, because it's basically the same price, and, you know, might as well get, rather than buy it somewhere else and pay for 2 lots of shipping. You know what I mean? Anyway, not my favorite Gentle Giant album, but it's certainly not shit either. And I really like some of the stuff on here, especially like the opening song. I really like 2 Weeks in Spain. That's really cool. It's a little bit more sort of tapping into the zeitgeist of the time with a bit of punk influence in there, which is weird for Gentle Giant, which is kind of like the proggest prog band. You know, it's the most like, this is not for the casual. Gentle Giant is not for the casual. You know, it's kind of impenetrable. A lot of people have a hard time with Gentle Giant, but the people who get it love it because it's just so incredible. And one of the albums that they love is this one right here, Freehand. Very happy to get my hand on this. Probably my favorite Gentle Giant album that's not the live album. But it's hard to say. It's hard to say. You know, they had that run of albums really up until The Missing Piece, which I think is flawless. You know, they're all really great. I love every album. The debut is great. Acquiring the Taste, all of them, you know, they're all really good. Including this one, Power and the Glory, another fantastic album. Really, really good stuff. Very happy to get my hands on it. I'm very curious to see how it's going to hold up once I put it on the turntable. But yeah, that's great to get my hands on as well. There's my dad popping up in the background. How'd it go?
Are you on the phone?
No, I'm doing a video, just showing some of my records here.
She made some t-shirts, but this is the large, that's large, no, that's the large.
Anyway, I'll keep...
Sam with M on Gal.
So maybe I'll just do an edit here. Okay, next up, I have another one of my all-time favorite bands, and this is, of course, Chick Corea's attempt at following in the shoes of Johnny McLaughlin with Return to Forever. So, of course, when Chick first constituted Return to Forever, it was kind of different. It was more like a Latin-infused electric jazz band. But after the success of Mahavishnu Orchestra and Inner Mounting Flame and that sort of breakout success that had, I think that inspired a lot of musicians to amp things up, and that's what absolutely Return to Forever did. And I have also here the first album. So that's the first album that they did. This is maybe my favorite, Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy. This is incredible. It's got Bill Connors on guitar though. The sort of classic lineup that, you know, that the band is known for is this one here. And this is when they brought in a young Al Di Meola onto the guitars, and he's absolutely on fire here. Incredible stuff. And this was the first Return to Forever album that I ever got my hands on. I was about 17 years old, and it absolutely blew my mind. Incredible stuff. The thing that really blew my mind about it was Stanley Clarke's bass playing though, more than Al. I think Al reaches out on other albums more, but Stanley Clarke's playing was just absolutely revolutionary on this one and was a huge inspiration to me. So very, very happy to get that on vinyl. And this one, of course, as I said, probably my favorite. This one is with Bill Connors. Bill Connors brings something different to the band. He's like, Al has that really precise, you know, direct, fiery sort of Latin approach, you know, in his playing, whereas Bill Connors is much more sort of wild and unruly sounding. But the interesting thing is there's very little of him actually playing like that. He plays like that on this album. He plays like that on the Stanley Clarke self-titled album. He plays a little bit like that on the Julian Priester album, which is, although not, it's sort of more hypnotic and free on that album. But it's fantastic. I wish there was more of him doing that stuff, because when he plays like that, he's fantastic. Just has so much fire, and it's really exciting. The band is absolutely cooking here. Chick's compositions are on fire, and you know, what a band, you know. You've got Lenny White on drums, who is an absolute beast, incredible player, incredible composer in his own right. Stanley, of course, Stanley Clark is the man. And Chick, you know, the legendary Chick Corea. Fantastic stuff. So, you know, when Return to Forever broke up, they all went off and did their own albums and stuff like that. And I think, I'm pretty sure that out of all of them, besides Chick, that Al was the most successful. He might have even been more successful than Chick. And this album is, I think most people would agree, his best, his most classic album. It's, you know, Latin infused jazz rock fusion, absolutely firing playing. His guitar playing would influence, you know, every rock guitarist to come after that, and you know, all the shredders, they owe a lot to Al Di Meola. They're a huge debt to him because he really pioneered that approach. Fantastic album, and I think it's one of the most, the best produced, the best compositions, and I highly recommend it. Check it out. This one right here, Shakti. So when John McLaughlin finished doing the Mahavishnu Orchestra, he
and he will come with me, and later on when he comes back, let's let him.
Sorry, I don't normally like to do edits on these videos, but you know, I'm not in my natural habitat. So when Mahavishnu Orchestra came to an end, John was diving very deeply into Indian music, and you know, he had a strong connection with his guru, Sri Chinmoy, and you know, was really in that sort of Indian spirituality, and he connected with these Indian musicians, master musicians like El Shankar and Zakir Hussain, and created this band, Shakti, which is such an incredible artistic achievement. It's so unique, it's so fiery. It's John playing acoustic guitar, and just like nobody else, like just the firepower that John McLaughlin has. And I don't mean just on a technical level, although on a technical level it's there, it's sky high. But I mean, like, from an improvisational level, from every aspect, from compositional aspect, from his ability to sort of create, there's no harmony going on. It's like all this melodic stuff. John sort of has to create harmony within the melody, and you know, it's like very hard to tell where the improvisation begins and where the composition begins, and where it's all so interwoven and so perfect and so magical. And on this, the third album, they really sort of managed to distill it into almost like each track being almost like its own little pop song of Indian shred, you know. It's incredible, really, really incredible album. I can't wait to get that home and spin it. Very cool stuff. My favorite Weather Report album, really happy to have it on vinyl. This is, of course, when Miroslav Vitos was still in the band, Wayne Shorter, Eric Gravatt on drums, and Domo Romeo on percussion. And they had a few other people like doing guest spots and stuff like that. Most notably, have Ralph Towner on there from Oregon, I think, playing 12-string guitar on The Moors, the second track on here. Incredible stuff, incredible. It sort of makes you wish, for me anyway, it makes me like, oh man, I wish they had guitar in there all the time. It just sounds so beautiful. I'm a huge fan of Miroslav Vitos's bass playing and his approach. It's much more like, with him in the band, and at this point it was much more free and wild and unruly and chaotic, but I love that. I love just the intensity of this thing. Half of the album is from the studio, half of it is live, and you know, they released the full live album, I think around the same time, which is, I think it's live in Tokyo, right? Yeah, Tokyo. So that's also awesome. But you know, those studio tracks like Unknown Soldier, The Moors, Crystal, they're incredible as well. So I love this album. You know, as much as I got introduced to Weather Report with Heavy Weather. I think like many people of my generation who are looking back, you know, that's kind of the entry point. And I love that album very much. You know, I love Jaco Pastorius very much as a bass player. I think it's like mandatory to love Jaco Pastorius, but I love Miroslav's playing. I love his playing. And I just bought his now the name of the album is blanking, from Infinite Search, is it? I just bought that vinyl too, so that's arriving at my brother's place up in West Palm Beach. In Hollywood. So when we go up there, I'll pick it up. I'll show it to you. Here we got something cool. Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush. What's next? This album is burning. This is like the album for me where I feel like Frank, for me, I sort of see Frank and Mahogany Rush. It's all one thing. I consider the whole, like, I don't separate them as Frank Marino and then Mahogany Rush. It's all basically Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush. I sort of see it in two phases though. There's like the first few albums, you know, which are very psychedelic, Jimi Hendrixy inspired, and then there's sort of like crosses over into the more, you know, 80s hard rock, and more sort of focused on the burning guitar playing, I think, like more shredding. And this album is like the crossover album, I think. This is where it really, where he first fully unleashes, I think, on the guitar. There's great guitar playing on those earlier albums, but he doesn't go full shred, I think, until this album. And even though he could, because if you hear those the live album from the psychedelic time, he was always great. He was always shredding live. But on the albums I'm talking about. Anyway, fantastic album. I love this thing. Absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure if I would say it's my favorite. On my other channel, a few years ago, I did a ranking of it. And at that time, probably still would say that those first few psychedelic albums are my favorites. But this one's right up there. I love this thing. So happy to get it on vinyl. Any Frank Marino on vinyl is great. And before I bought the box set, I got my hands on some original Road Games. And of course, my favorite Alan Holdsworth album is IOU, the first one. I love this thing. This is an original, so that's cool. And this album, you know, the thing I love about it is that even though Alan's playing will develop and the shredding gets even better, you know, amazingly. And I think he gets more developed with his sort of harmonic language and everything like that. There's just something so raw and immediate about this band, you know, who were under pressure, but they were really happy to be doing what they were doing because it was Alan finally breaking free of being a sideman and doing his own thing, his own music, finally, after so many years of being one of the greatest additions as a sideman to a whole slew of fantastic albums over the 70s. But now he finally was, you know, he had he was in control, and he produced this amazing album, which is really unique. The lineup is really cool. Alan Holdsworth, Paul Carmichael on bass, who is more like subdued in a way than Jimmy Johnson and other bass players who play with, maybe not quite as technical, but I love his bass playing on this album. It just seems to it just seems to complement Alan and of course the great Gary Husband's drumming. It just seems that the three of those guys playing together just seems to work perfectly. I just love every second of music on this album because of this. And it's all played live they recorded on a houseboat Houseboat Studio I think in London, and on a barge. Yeah, recorded on a barge. I don't know where. I'm pretty sure it was in England somewhere. Anyway, and you know, they're just playing together live in the room and recording it that way. And then you've got, of course, Paul Williams on vocals. A lot of people don't like the fact that Paul Williams is singing on this. You know, like I hear people saying all the time, like, oh, they wish Paul's vocals weren't there. But I love it. I think it, like, I actually like the albums where he's singing on them more than the ones without him, because I think it adds a whole nother dimension to Alan's music, you know, and it sort of makes it even more totally unique. I mean, there's times when these songs are going on and it's like, what am I listening to? Is this like the most technically advanced AOR, or is this like this alien prog, or is this jazz, or is this, you know, jazz rock fusion? Like, what am I hearing here? And I love that. I love that. I love to be sort of caught off guard by music and surprised. Anyway, this is my massive stack here that I've got. I am hoping to buy more stuff, but we'll see. Now, I said at the beginning, like, I'll comment about Key West. I'm not impressed, Key West. I'm sorry. Yeah, sure. It's like, it's got, you know, like, it's a beautiful tropical island, you know, but it's basically like a little country town in the middle of the ocean kind of thing. And there's no, like, it's funny, like my son, he's really into these WWE action figures, and he's got a bit of money that he got for his birthday that he wants to go and spend. You know, you know, you can't get this stuff in Israel, so he's really excited to go shopping, you know. And I'm also really excited to go shopping to buy some more vinyl, you know. I don't know how I'm going to get it in my backpack. It's going to weigh a ton, but well, I'll manage somehow. Where there's a will, there's a way, and there is a will. But there's nothing here for either of us. There's not, they don't, it's like there's not a single turntable in the whole of the Florida Keys or something. Like they don't, like vinyl doesn't exist down here. So that's a bit of a bummer. I went to like there's a Salvation Army shop not far from here, and I just went up there and had a look, and they had like this one tub of just shit I would never want, and it was in terrible condition anyway. So even if I would want it, I wouldn't buy it because it was just all falling apart and scratched and shit. Anyway, I think on Tuesday we're going to drive up to West Palm Beach. So then we can start doing some vinyl shopping and some toy shopping and all of that sort of stuff. So anyway, that's where I'm at for now. I'm really excited to get all of this stuff. As you can see, I've got a pretty good haul there. And and so yeah, I've got like the Miroslav Vitos, and I found on some online seller called Millions of Records. They have like rare and discontinued stuff and bootleg stuff, and I don't mind bootlegs. Like sometimes you can get some cool stuff with bootlegs. I don't know if this is a bootleg what I've ordered, but you know, the Carlos Santana and John McLaughlin album they did together, Love, Devotion, Surrender. Well, there's I found these two volumes of a live album from that band, from that album. So with Billy Cobham on drums and Carlos and John and Larry Young on keyboards, the great Larry Young. And I've had to listen to a few clips on YouTube that are supposed to be from that. I hope that's the right one, but man, it's fire as hell. It's like the sound quality is not that great, but the playing is just like incredible stuff. So I ordered 2 of those, so I've got those 3 albums going to my brother's place. So I'm really excited to get my hands on that stuff as well. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I will give you some more detailed videos about some of these cool albums in the videos to come. All right, guys, see you later.